Covenant Daily. What's up? Pastor Chris here, coming back at you. I feel like we need a little jingle for Covenant Daily each time. Maybe we'll have David LaChance do that for us. But hey, my wife was watching the live stream yesterday, and she texted me mid-service and said, Chris, you need to get a haircut as soon as you get home. I'm YouTubing how to give a haircut right now. Well, thankfully for our marriage and for my sake, we have held off a little bit on that. We're going to be doing that soon. But I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. The barbers, we're going to get back to you soon, for real soon, hopefully, as my hair has not been this long since high school. But there's a lot more meaningful things going on in this world besides the length of our hair. There's a lot of suffering that is happening right now. I think we experience that. It's not just physical suffering. I think not many of us, a few of us, but not many of us have been impacted directly by being sick with this virus. We've had some family members definitely that have been sick, and we've been praying for those folks, and a few that have passed away. I think a lot of the other kind of suffering we are experiencing has been from job loss. We've experienced marital hardships. We've experienced isolation and the impacts that has on our health and our spiritual life. It's interesting, right before all this stuff hit, I did a class on how to end well, how to suffer well, because I truly believe that Christians ought to be the best at suffering. There's no other faith that can deal more adequately with the question of suffering. And it's a shame to me that oftentimes people critique of Christianity is that if God is sovereign, if God is all good, then why is there so much suffering in the world? Well, for me, there's no other place to turn except when we look at the cross, as Pastor Brent preached about yesterday or the day before now. There is just so much purpose we see in the cross. There is so much meaning. There's so much redemption that we see in the cross that no other faith can possibly compete with. One of the things we did in the class that I taught was we looked at Scripture and all the different ways that it looked at suffering. We looked at the Old Testament. We looked at Job. We looked at Psalms of lament. We looked at so many different pieces in the Old Testament. Then we also turned to the New Testament and saw how the New Testament spoke about suffering. And we got to Romans, and oftentimes people take Romans 8:28 and they say, oh, you never should quote that to someone when they're suffering. And I understand that you don't want to shove that scripture down their throats. But there is a beautiful truth within Romans 8:28 that we must, as Christians, hold on to in times like these. Romans 8:28, you all know it. It says, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. That is a beautiful truth, that if you are suffering right now, as a believer, you can hold on to that. That doesn't mean that it's good, the things that you're going through. But the cross shows us that it can take the worst thing that you are going through and redeem it. And actually, in the end, use it for God's purposes. That's the issue. That's the deal with sin. He takes sin and he redeems it. He takes brokenness and he puts it back together. He takes suffering and he creates meaning out of it in ways that actually bring about our good and ultimately his glory. So if you're suffering today, I encourage you, go read Romans 8:28 and talk to God about it. Talk to him about all the things that you're going through right now, and hold on to the fact that God doesn't leave you in the midst of your suffering, but rather he is there with you, as I talked about last time, as your good shepherd. I pray that would be the case for you today, that you can hold on to God's promises, that he is with you and that he is redeeming all things, including the suffering that you might be experiencing today. We love you. We are praying for you in all different aspects and areas. If you need any help, please reach out to your shepherd. Please reach out to the church office. We love you all, and we can't wait to see you all again.